2月27號係中國茉莉花集會嘅第二次舉行，警察係提早咗抵達現場，以封鎖、掃街以及係吹警哨等方式阻止集會。除咗幾位民眾係被逮捕之外，中國警察仲強制阻止咗外國記者嘅採訪。響北京嘅王府井，英國嘅 BBC 記者被強壓上車，美國之音嘅記者亦都係被禁止拍攝。而根據統計，總共有16家嘅外國媒體記者嘅採訪工作係遭到阻撓。美國同歐洲國家都批評中國警察對記者動粗嘅行為。中國外交部批評外國記者係未有遵守採訪規定，響報道時候故意挑起動亂。外交部仲警告外國記者，如果佢哋企圖報道民主集會，就可能會被驅逐出境。美國人對外國記者響中國採訪遭遇嘅阻礙係有咩睇法？
Some foreign journalists were physically beaten and arrested last week by Chinese police when they were trying to cover the rallies. Why do you think the Chinese government is responding with such force to the foreign journalists?
Well, I mean, the Chinese clearly want to control the media and control their image, especially in the West. And I think therefore in the China Daily they can control the Chinese population, but controlling the actual image they portray, having foreign journalists going around and seeing people be arrested with no due process just for gathering is something they don't want to be documented. So,
right. So why do you think the Chinese government is now threatening to expel foreign journalists if they try to report on these pro-democracy rallies?
I mean, the same reason that Egypt shut down Al Jazeera is to control the image of protesters and frame them as being hooligans and saboteurs, and any Western documentation showing they're just gathering peacefully and having peaceful protests would, Chinese wouldn't be able to save face if that were to happen. So,
do you think foreign journalists reporting on these rallies in China have an agenda? Why do you think they're publicizing this?
Well, all journalists have an agenda to the extent that they want to transmit news and news that people want to hear. But I don't think the agenda is the agenda that the People's Republic would frame it as, which is its attempt to violently overthrow the government. The journalists are just trying to cover what they see as an emerging story and an emerging interest.
I do believe that there is a certain purity of the journalistic effort to maintain communication with the populace of the Chinese people and help them to understand what's going on in the Middle East as a hope for them to also bring democracy to China.
If you were a foreign journalist in China, would you want to report on these pro-democracy rallies?
I very much would. I mean, I read an article recently about the U.S. ambassador also being spotted at the rally, and I think that's an interesting point, as him being there and him being, the Chinese utilizing his presence as a tool for Western aggression or however they want to frame that. And I think the more journalists who are there, that shows that really, it's not just one person, one influence, but the world wants to see what's going on. And so I think whether it's a China, a German journalist or a French journalist or an American journalist, having more foreign correspondents showing the images will definitely help portray those as being peaceful protesters and not as saboteurs or some other agenda.
It's difficult to promote protest at any point, but being here in Washington, D.C. and seeing the opportunity to lobby and to petition and recognize our freedoms in expression and in policy, I say more power to whoever it is that needs that encouragement. It's overwhelming the opportunities we have to defend those freedoms.
Do you see any similarities in the treatment of journalists in China and in the Middle East right now?
I think you could say there are some similarities, and again, it's imprisoning them to keep control on the flow of information as a way of maintaining the reins of power. There are probably some differences too. I think China has a long history of imprisoning dissidents, and I think that this is just a further example of that, whereas I think it's really in the Middle East coming to much more of a fore with the popular uprisings, sort of akin to what was happening in Tiananmen in the, I think it was the late 80s.